Hello writers, come write with me. My name is Michaela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my channel, Write with Michaela. I'm very excited to have you join me on my channel, so don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today is story time, or the day of our chapter exchange. If you're writing with me and you would like to exchange chapters, then send your chapter with written permission to writewithmichaela@gmail.com. I will post the email address at the end of the video and in the description below. I'm looking forward to reading your chapters. All chapters or writing prompts read on the channel, whether they are mine or another writer's work, are copyright protected material, and no one may use any part in writing their own stories. This story is PG-13, so if you're under 13 years of age, you need parental guidance. The story is in its rough draft stage, just as the last stories and writing prompts we've heard. The title of this story is Elementals, and today we're reading Chapter 7. If you would like to read along, then send to the email I stated earlier and request a PDF of the chapter. Make sure you are specific. Now let's start. Elementals, Chapter 7. Pieces to the Puzzle. As Michaels helped the stable keeper, he noticed there seemed to be a lot of interest in him. After a while, Sanchez whispered to him, "We don't get strangers often, and especially not after the High Lord sends a message." Michael paused momentarily to look at Sanchez. Then he continued working. He didn't want anyone to know Sanchez was speaking to him, but he glanced at Sanchez to let him know that he understood. Sanchez then said, "The message said the fourth elemental is here and has had a glimpse." Michaels whispered back, "Glimpse? There is a lot here, and we don't have much time. A glimpse is when the elemental goes back to the other world, or the world he or she knew, and the glimpse opens up magic to him or her faster, as well as memory and other things. The High Lord wants to arrest this elemental before she knows of her glimpse." "Or potential magic," put in Michaels. "You're working. I'm giving you what I can. You can't take anything not yours, which I assume you know, since you have no bridle to your horse. I take it you've already changed horses, but hopefully you exchanged and didn't take." Michael straightened up. He stretched a little as he processed everything. The horse had a spell over him, so in his true form, he didn't belong to anyone unless these people had slaves. And he had said, at least, he did not belong to Emery. This guy, Sanchez, was on the side against Emery, but he was pretending everything was normal. Michaels walked to the water barrel, took a sip of water, then he turned and started helping once again with the repairs. Sergeant Davis knew something was in his drink right away. He could smell it when he took his first whiff. Somehow he had to let everyone think he was drinking it without actually drinking it. He hadn't been in the field in many years, so he didn't have any helpful equipment. Then he had a strange thought. The wizard's rocks absorbed the poison or toxin out of his drink. Sarge shook his head to himself. That was a strange thought. He glanced at the wizard, and the wizard raised his glass and cheers to Sarge, and Sarge saw him wink. Sarge wondered if the wizard was an ally or an enemy. Was he encouraging Sarge to drink the draft, or did he understand Sarge's thoughts about the poison? Possible poison. Sarge didn't know. but he would do his best to play his drunk part and see if he could learn anything. Sarge glanced around as indiscreetly as possible to see if he could spot any allies. Of course, he still didn't know who his enemy was or what tactics his enemies would use. All he knew was Alex's description of Emery, his black clothes. The gnomes were returning to their village, but the whole group of them stopped. After a few more trees, they should see their houses, and from this distance they should hear the merriment from the children and smell the scents of supper cooking. They simultaneously squatted down behind a bush, peered out. One brought out a telescope, expanded it, and peered ahead. The gnome with the telescope shook his head as he collapsed the telescope. He stood up and walked back the way he had come. The rest of the group caught up and motioned back to their village. The gnome with the telescope, Ami, motioned back and let them know that enemies waited for them. Ami started walking again. They needed to be farther away to spread out and plan. As they walked, a few gnomes bit their fingernails. Ikani awoke as several people dragged him out from under the bed. "What's this?" asked a voice. "I don't know, but maybe he can tell us what happened with Sergeant Davis and Lieutenant Michaels." "Or Alex," said a third voice. Connie reached for his wand, but his hand brushed the gun. "Be careful, he has a gun," said the first. Connie pulled the gun, and the three men backed up. Connie stood up and tossed the gun to them, and then quickly used his wand to disappear. The three men jumped away from the gun. Thankfully, it didn't go off, but now they had no trail to follow. They got the special ops up to take the fingerprints off the gun. They were winding down and finishing up for the day, and until they had any more clues, they might be finished. For good. They let out a sigh. Akani had put himself on the roof. He lay flat and watched what he could. He hadn't been able to explore the place, but now it looked like the people were leaving, so he could go back in when they left. Surely the Green Witch's twin left something he could find. The elementals were supposed to have something they could find when the time was right. Just Ikani didn't know what that would be. Ikani waited a long while before he went back inside. Then he started saying the spell to locate the item. Lokati Tariru. He pointed the wand in one direction, then repeated, Lokati Tariru. He did this in the living room and in the small breakfast room, and then in Alex's room. Finally, a small piece of paper floated to him. He opened it, and it read, Dear Alex, if you ever need help, you can call me. Love and Stelnar, 583-412-4242. Of course, Ikane didn't read the script all so well, but he only wanted the talisman. He touched his wand to the paper, and he popped away. The next thing Ikane knew was he was standing on the front porch of a home. He looked up and down the street before he knocked on the door. After a few minutes, a porch light went on, and someone opened the door. Oh, I must say things aren't going so well if you're here, stated Aunt Stelnar. Do come in. She motioned him in and then looked up and down the street. She closed the door and then turned to Ikani. Please tell me that you can speak human, or more precisely, English. I speak but little English. Tea? Asked Aunt Stelnar. Ikani nodded once and headed to the sitting room to wait. Soon Aunt Stelnar returned with a tray of tea and cookies. Aunt Stelnar served everything. After Aunt Stelnar served everything, Ikani said, Alexandria come? She glimpsed. She escaped us before we teach. Other three already captured. Okay. Let me see if I understand this. Alex went through the portal. I had hoped that, especially since the TV said she was missing. Ikani didn't understand TV, so Aunt Stelnar motioned to hers. She turned it on for a few minutes. When she turned it off, said, "It talks. Anyway, the elementals have been going over the last couple of years, but what you're saying is they didn't set up their kingdoms yet because their enemies captured them?" Ikani slowly nodded after he carefully translated everything for himself. And Stelnar sighed. "I've told the gnomes they couldn't lock up the elementals. The elementals will question your motives and not trust you." Ikani replied, "We told you elementals run away if we do not." He motioned with his hand like locking a door. "Okay. Do you know where Alex is?" asked Aunt Stelnar. "No," replied Ikani. "But enemies are entering our woods. We took down portal for now." "Oh, that's bad. I was thinking that we could find the fifth elemental and go there, but you can enter," stated Ikani. "Only in an emergency or once all 5 kingdoms are restored," stated Aunt Stelnar. "My presence will be known or felt." Aunt Stelnar stood and paced a bit. Then she walked out of the room and gathered a few things. She came back and said, "I will read over several spells tonight. I'm going to show you to a guest room to rest, and we will leave in the morning. I'd like to go to the last place the portal was active. That way it won't take much magic. But Alex was lost in the woods, so I'll read what I can." Ikani only slightly nodded his head. He wanted to say that he slept all day, but he didn't. He wanted to say that his magic could disguise hers a bit, so that her presence wouldn't be known or felt. But he wasn't sure he knew all the human words to explain that. Nothing was working for Alex. At least nothing good. A few times she felt like something was sucking her breath out of her, and she had stopped the spell. At those moments, Eleanor had a gleam of excitement in her eyes. Other spells she felt her whole body might change, as her clothes had, because she felt stretching and shrinking. She even felt pain on her ankle and on her head, but she didn't check them to see if she had reopened her wounds. She hoped Eleanor didn't notice anything. But Eleanor was watching carefully. After a few of these experiences, Alex started saying the words slightly incorrectly, and that seemed to frustrate Eleanor. To herself, she was saying, "Thank you, Harry Potter." How many times did Hermione correct their pronunciation? Apparently, there is something to that. Alex didn't want her enemy mad, and she wanted to continue to play on the innocence she was trying to establish to throw Eleanor off her guard. So she said, "Maybe I'm not holding the wand correctly, or maybe I don't flick my wrist correctly." "Flick your wrist?" asked Eleanor. Eleanor became very wary. Alex realized she was speaking like she was in the Harry Potter movie. She tried to cover her strange speech. Well, when you move your hand in a certain way. I'm new to this. What would you call it?" "Just wave your wand," stated Eleanor. "You say the words, you picture the result in your mind, and you wave the wand. There's no wrist flicking involved." Alex was doing her best to remember all the words, and she really wanted to try some things with her wand, but she was tremendously glad the spells weren't working, or at least she was stopping them in time. She felt that her training to be a detective should have taught her that you don't say spells unless you know what they will do. But, of course, her training was in her world and not here. Alex tried to keep her mind blank and not picture anything. If her mind started thinking something, she just breathed in a deep breath and started counting from 1 to 10. Usually people never made it to 10, or so expert gurus told her, but she just wanted the words and not the images. Another thing was that Eleanor had magically lifted the cloth off the stones at one point in a demonstration, and Alex noted the arrangement. She could easily picture the 5 stones on their map. She could see the green stone near the inner point where 2 legs of the star went down further. She assumed that a city or village was there, and that city would be Sisisnar. The green stone matched the green dress in the drawing of her. Pieces were fitting into place, or at least she hoped they were. Jumping to conclusions was very dangerous most times. It was dusk and growing dark. Sarge kept letting the drink pour down his chin, but not too much at a time. Finally, he felt he needed to rejoin Michaels or Alex, so he fell off his stool at the bar. The bartender shouted for someone to drag the man to the stables and his servant could take care of him, and they could pay in the morning if the servant didn't have the money to pay the tab. When Sanchez saw the people heading their way, he got Michael's attention, and Michaels ran out to help drag Sarge into a stall for the night. Sanchez actually paid the tab, and Michaels was very grateful. After the people left, Michaels checked Sarge's pulse, but Sarge grabbed his wrist, so Michaels knew Sarge was fine. Sanchez whispered to Michaels that they would pretend to sleep now, and once it got quiet, he would get them to the tunnel. And he paid, so they wouldn't have a posse after them. Since his companions owed the funds to the tavern owner could track them if they hadn't paid. Michaels was grateful Sanchez paid the debt, but he wasn't sure about going to a tunnel, so he whispered that they needed to get the daughter. Sanchez whispered, "Hopefully things will be in our favor, but the daughter is in the witch's home. This may be a day to live and to fight another day thing, especially since I successfully made a ramp down for the horse." Michael sighed. He could sense Sanchez's fear as people stopped and stared in the stable during the day, and he could hear the excitement in Sanchez's voice at having successfully made the ramp. The only thing Michaels could do was hope that luck was also on Alex's side. Too bad they didn't have radios or anything. They couldn't text each other. Michaels actually couldn't find his cell phone, so he thought it was in the squad car. And he thought he remembered that they had found Alex's cell, but he couldn't remember. But it could be that he remembered that they had the handset for her home phone. In his experience, most times it was better not to fight or protest until you knew for certain you had to fight your way out of the situation. And he certainly didn't understand the potential danger for Alex. He just had to trust her training. Alex told Eleanor that it was late and she needed to find her dad. Eleanor told her the dad and his servant would be sleeping in the stable, so she should just sleep in the bed she was offering. Alex said she should at least let her dad know, but Eleanor told her that Helfel would bring the message. Alex felt that Helfel must be the slim male's name that brought her here. Alex sighed to herself. She knew she was a prisoner once again, and she would have to sneak out. She also knew she should pretend to go along with things so the woman wouldn't suspect that she would try to escape. Eleanor did take the wand she had loaned Alex, and she told Alex that she could try again tomorrow to use it. When Eleanor brought her to the room, she looked around to see what was there. She told Eleanor this was definitely better than a stall in a stable, and she thanked her for the hospitality. Then Eleanor left to another part of the house. Okay, writers, that is the end of Chapter 7. Leave a comment on if you were Michaels, would you agree to leave and fight another day? Or would you insist on getting Alex? Leave a comment on Ann Stelnar's comments about the TV when she showed it to Ikani and said, "It talks." Would you explain? Would you have explained more? Leave a comment on if you would worry that you owed Sanchez after he paid the tab and now he could track you. Join me Tuesday for some jargon and a story with a setting. Join me Wednesday for our book club discussion of 1984. Join me Friday for Chapter 8 of Elementals. Visit my website bymckella.com. Read some character bios. If you read some, leave a comment on which ones you have read. All your comments will help us to start conversations and build our community. Keep all comments respectful. Remember that someone else's perspective can help you with your writing. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and the bell so we can continue to write together. And other people will have a higher chance of finding this video and this channel, since your likes will push the video out to a greater audience. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, please share it with them. This is Mckella with Write with Mckella. Bye for now.